We shift our focus to the latest developments because the ceasefire is over and the war has returned to the Middle East. Let's get you the top 10 developments that we're tracking this hour. Development number one is that the United States has launched the third round of strikes on Iran. US Central Command has said that 140 Iranian targets have been hit in the fresh strikes. Iran, on its part, has declared that the Strait of Hormuz has been closed once again. The IRGC claims that a second vessel in Hormuz. Iran also, in retaliation, has struck the Gulf. Qatar and UAE are on high alert. Iran has the attack by Iran has also left 3 people wounded in Qatar. Iran for now is saying that Hormuz talks must include Oman. In UAE, air defenses have engaged missiles and drones. In Bahrain, air raid sirens have been activated amid the threats. Israel is also flagging Iran's target list of world leaders. That's a huge claim that has been made by Israel. Meanwhile, let's tell you what has happened. A new strike and a fresh escalation in the latest when it comes to the war in Iran. The United States has launched a third round of military strikes against Iran after accusing Tehran of attacking a container ship in the Strait of Hormuz. The US Central Command says that the vessel identified as GFS Galaxy was hit while it was trying to transit the strategic waterway. According to the US CENTCOM, the ship caught fire, suffered damage, and 1 civilian crew member still remains missing. The United States has now accused the IRGC, which is Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps, of blatant attack on commercial vessels, and also says that Tehran has violated the terms of the peace deal. But the peace deal has crumbled, the ceasefire is over. Following the incident, the CENTCOM also announced a new wave of strikes on Iranian targets. The US military has said that around 140 Iranian targets were hit in the latest wave of strikes, including missiles and drones. In fact, we are also getting to know that naval facilities and communication networks in Iran have been targeted. US also says that more than 300 targets have been struck in this recent operation, which is aimed at deterring further attacks on commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran also says that it has launched missile and drone attacks targeting US military sites, one in Bahrain, in Kuwait, in Jordan, in Qatar, and also it says that it has targeted the Al Udeid air base. Meanwhile, Al Jazeera has reported that emergency alerts have been activated in Doha following the latest wave of strikes as regional tensions continue to escalate. These claims also for now remain unverified by independent authorities. Take a look. And we have breaking news coming in. Qatar's Ministry of Interior has said that 3 people, including a child, they've been injured after shrapnel fell following the Iranian missile attacks. The injured were taken for treatment, while authorities have also said that emergency teams have responded swiftly and the situation remains under close monitoring. We have Srinjoy Chaudhary joining us on this broadcast as we track the latest developments. The Gulf is on the edge again. US has said that Iran will pay. Iran, Mojtaba Khamenei has said that vengeance is the will of the nation. Hormuz has become a battle zone once again. The ceasefire is over. Is this a point of no return, Srinjoy?
Let's hope that it isn't. Because even now there are people who are still beavering away, still trying their best to find a solution. The question that has to be answered is what happened to Pakistan and all the efforts by Pakistan to find a solution. Clearly, they have tried, and if they have tried, they've actually tried, they've failed. But at this point, this is something worrying, not just for America and Iran, not just for the Gulf countries, but for the world. Primarily because at this point, the Iranians are saying the Strait of Hormuz is closed. Now you can try to open it. The point is, regardless of how much you bomb the coastal areas of southern Iran, it takes one man with a shouldered fire missile to hit one of the container ships, one of the tankers,
yes,
one of the or merchant ships. Now, when you do that, when that happens, then what will the shipping companies say? What will the captains of ships say? Because these ships are very expensive. The cargo they are carrying is very expensive. And the most important thing is that lives could be lost.
I want you to stay with us, Srinjoy, because we have a very important update now coming in. This is a statement from the Ministry of External Affairs, and we have more details right now in this statement about the attack on the commercial vessel GFS Galaxy, which happened off the coast of Oman. The MEA says that of the 11 Indian nationals on board the vessel, 10 have been rescued, while 1 Indian national is reportedly missing. The MEA also informs that the embassy in Oman is closely monitoring the situation and is proactively coordinating with Omani authorities in the ongoing search and rescue operations. And they're also thanking Omani authorities for the support. The continuing incidents of attacks on commercial shipping in the region are deeply worrisome. So the MEA, in its first statement on the latest attack on the ships, confirms that there were Indian nationals on board. There were 11 Indian nationals on board. 10 have been rescued. One Indian national is reportedly still missing. And the MEA, in its statement, talks about how these attacks are deeply concerning. Akansha is with us on the phone line. Akansha, in the latest, there has been a huge escalation in the last 24 hours itself. The attack on ships in the Strait of Hormuz, deeply concerning for India. In its latest statement, the MEA has confirmed that there were Indian nationals on board. 10 of them have been rescued. 1 crew member is missing. India has expressed concern over the attacks. Can you share more details of the statement that the MEA has now put out?
Well, you've already shared most of the statement, and this was a commercial container ship that caught fire off the coast of Oman after severely getting damaged on Saturday. And there was an immediate abandonment of the crew from the vessel, as we see that tensions are only escalating further in the Strait of Hormuz. And surprisingly enough, this is an attack that has happened on the day when the External Affairs Minister, Dr. Jaishankar, himself has been on the West Nation tour, and he had just wrapped up his Omanian visit. And he had, in fact, thanked the Sultanate of Oman to be looking out for the safety and security of Indian seafarers. And so this is what the statement from the Ministry of External Affairs is also going on to say. It's condemning the attack on the commercial vessel GFS Galaxy that took place off the coast of Oman. And as you rightly highlighted, of the 11 Indian nationals on board, 10 have been rescued so far. But the Indian authorities are extremely concerned about the 1 Indian national who is reportedly missing. And the statement indicates that the Indian embassy in Oman is closely monitoring the situation, is proactively coordinating with the Omani authorities in the ongoing search and rescue operation. The Omani authorities have been extremely proactive, and was also the message that was delivered when External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar was interacting with the Omani authorities during his visit. He had even thanked them for rescuing the seafarers. So India, of course, not mincing any words in this statement that has come out, is very sharply worded. It goes on to condemn the continuing incidents of attacks on commercial shipping in the region. It's also said that it's deeply worrisome, that India reiterates the call for immediate de-escalation of tensions and the conclusion of ongoing negotiations for a diplomatic solution so that peace and stability can return to the region. And as we have always maintained in all those visits that Prime Minister also made, all the 3 joint statements that he forged with Australia, New Zealand and Indonesia, all of them had condemned the kind of tensions that have been plaguing maritime sea routes. And that is exactly what even this statement by the External Affairs Ministry is going on to echo, that the targeting of commercial shipping and civilian infrastructure in the region must end, and free and unimpeded navigation and commerce through the international waterways in the region should be kept in mind with international law, and it should be restored at the earliest. But what can India do if the IRGC has indeed shut the Strait of Hormuz? What happens to these ships? Many of these ships, in fact, are turning off their responders, and they are also taking the other alternate route, which is through the Strait of Oman. So what is it that India plans to do about its own seafarers and these cargo vessels, given that we are heavily reliant on our own oil energy needs are exported? We'll have to see the word coming in. So far, even though talks have started on Saturday, they seem to have yielded no result on expected lines.
There's a call for de-escalation. India has condemned the attack on these ships. Srinjoy continues to stay with us. Akansha is also breaking down the details of the MEA's latest statement. Srinjoy, can you also break down for our viewers the official, the official estimate or the official numbers as put out by the Ministry of External Affairs earlier of the number of ships and seafarers who are still in the Strait of Hormuz?
9 Indian ships are still there, and there are a lot of ships flying different flags which have Indian shippies, Indian seamen. So all of them are at risk. The point is, it's a narrow strait, and if you want to target a container ship, a tanker, a merchant ship, it's very easy. All you need is one shoulder-fired missile, and it will do the job, because it's so narrow. The ship is so large, it will be impossible for the ship to try and evade a missile. So therefore, this is a very dangerous area for any ship. And if there is someone in the coastal area aiming a missile at a ship, a large ship, and these are big ships, 50,000 tons, 80,000 ton, 100,000 ton tankers or merchant ships, they are sitting ducks, literally. And it's very, very unfortunate. And the Indian government is making it clear that 10 Indians are safe, but the other is still missing. And that is something the Indian government is very concerned about.
Right.
Their men, Indian men, Indian seamen are in the line of fire. And that worries India. That worries all of India.
Right. Like you mentioned, Srinjoy, in the latest, as of 8th of July, the MEA had said that 9 Indian vessels are in the Persian Gulf region in the west of the Strait of Hormuz, with 198 Indian seafarers who are on board. And when it comes to this attack on the ship, MEA has confirmed that there were 11 Indian nationals on board, out of whom 10 have been rescued and 1 is still reportedly missing. We're going to keep our focus on the statement that has come in by the Ministry of External Affairs, but let's also bring you the latest coming in when it comes to the breaking news updates. India has condemned the attack on the commercial vessel of GFS Galaxy, which was off the coast of Oman. Like we've been telling you, the Ministry of External Affairs has released a detailed statement. It has called for de-escalation. It has, in fact, confirmed that it is in touch with Omani authorities. Meanwhile, Iran has also announced that the strategic waterway, that is the Strait of Hormuz, has been closed once again, with no ships now being allowed to pass until further notice. The announcement from Iran comes after Tehran accused an unauthorized vessel of taking an illegal route through the strait. Tehran also claims that it fired a warning shot at the vessel before the closure was finally announced. The status of the key shipping route has remained uncertain in the recent days, with repeated reports of the waterway being reopened, partially reopened, and also then shut once again. Meanwhile, there is a new claim that's coming in from the IRGC. The IRGC also says that it has struck and has stopped a second offending vessel in the Strait of Hormuz, and the IRGC has warned that continued US-Israeli actions would invite even more devastating responses. Tehran has also now put out a statement. We are getting to know that Tehran says that any future arrangements for the Strait of Hormuz must be worked out only and only in consultation with Iran and with Oman. So Iranian officials are insisting, that any kind of consultations when it comes to the arrangements in the Strait of Hormuz must happen with Iran and with Oman. Going across to Srinjoy Chaudhary, Iran once again setting the terms when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz. There has been unprecedented escalation. India has put out a statement, has called and is demanding safe maritime passage, when Iran goes on to say that any arrangement here will be done in consultation with Tehran and with Oman. What does it mean? Break down the implications for our viewers, Srinjoy.
India Indian citizens are on the line. They are risking their lives because they may not be on Indian ships, but they are on other ships. And the Indian government has a responsibility. Already one Indian citizen is missing. That's something that worries India. Secondly, if you're going to close the Strait of Hormuz, then the implications are enormous, because that will mean another spike in oil prices. That will mean shortage of natural gas. All of these things are going to happen. Plus, the renewal of the war means what? It means that 9 million Indians are in the area and they are at risk. That's another problem. So all these things get India very concerned about it, which is why you have that statement as you have. Now Iran has said, we will close the Strait of Hormuz. They weaponized the Strait of Hormuz, which was open for everybody before the war began. Though now the point is, what is anyone going to do? Are you going to have further peace talks? Are you going to fight some more? Now what will that lead to? What will happen if the Americans decide to strike non-military targets and the Iranians say we will do the same? That's something that worries people, including India, because as I said, there are 9 million Indians there.
So in the latest, once again, viewers, India has issued a statement. The MEA has said that 10 of the 11 Indian nationals who were on board the ship that was attacked, they've been rescued, while one Indian crew member reportedly is still missing. The Indian embassy in Oman is closely coordinating with authorities in Oman. There is a search and rescue operation that is still ongoing. We're once again telling you the latest when it comes to the statement that has been released by the MEA. India is calling for immediate de-escalation of regional tensions. India once again is urging for a diplomatic solution and also for the restoration of safe and unimpeded navigation through the international waterways. We'll also have Akansha joining us in just a minute from now. But Srinjoy, India calling for de-escalation. There are concerns. Can you share more details of the second ship that Iran spoke about? Because in the last 24 hours itself, 2 ships have been attacked. So Hormuz has become the battle zone once again. There are ships that are coming under attack, and we know what that means for global shipping. We also know the larger concerns that the world will now express when it comes to this status of the Strait of Hormuz, because there are fears of oil prices, there are fears of global oil shock all over again.
This was a container ship. But ask yourself, if you were heading a shipping company, if you were captain of a ship, would you send your ship through the Strait of Hormuz? The answer is most probably no. Because it's not just the ship itself, which is a very valuable ship, very expensive to build. It's also the cargo in the ship. And thirdly, most importantly, you have sailors. Now there were about a dozen of them in this ship that was hit, the container ship. And if the container ship has been hit,
Akansha joining
then what
us on this broadcast, and we're just running out of time. Before we actually wind up, let's go across to Akansha, who's going to share the latest on the attacks on the ships that are taking place. Both sides, Akansha, right now going on to say that both US and Iran are talking about revenge. Take us through that statement once again, Akansha.
Absolutely. Let me take you through the statement that has come in from Ministry of External Affairs. They have mentioned that we condemn the attack on the commercial vessel GFS Galaxy off the coast of Oman earlier today. Of the 11 Indian nationals on board, 10 have been rescued so far, while one Indian national, we're learning, reportedly is missing. Our embassy in Oman is closely monitoring the situation and proactively coordinating with the Omani authorities, and they've also thanked the authorities there for their support. The incident of attack on the commercial shipping in the region are deeply worrisome. Something that Ministry of External Affairs has been repeating
so India has
over the last few months.
Its concern is calling for de-escalation. Running out of time on this broadcast, taking a short break. We'll be back with more news and updates.